Today's episode features Poland's ultimate hold my pierogi moment, when Poland occupied Moscow. Yes, that's right. Poland, usually busy getting invaded by everyone around, decided to flip the script and take over Russia's capital. How did that happen, and why isn't Putin speaking Polish today? Stay tuned. My name is Darek, and welcome to the Sands of Time. So, the year is 1605. Russia is going through what historians call the time of troubles, which, if we are being honest, is a massive understatement. The last half-decent ruler, Ivan the Terrible, has been dead for a while, and the country is basically a giant dumpster fire. There is famine, civil war, and a bunch of wannabe Tsars showing up like it's some kind of medieval reality show. If Game of Thrones had a Russian season, this would be it. But let's reverse a little bit. Ivan the Terrible's death in 1584 didn't immediately plunge Russia into madness. He left behind a son, Tsar Feodor I, who, how do I put this delicately, was as effective as a ruler as a soggy piece of bread. He wasn't known for his leadership or intellect, because the guy was more interested in ringing church bells than ruling the country, which earned him a nickname, Feodor the Bellringer. In reality, his regent, Boris Godunov, was the one pulling the strings behind the scenes. Think Medvedev and Putin. Feodor's death in 1598 without an heir marked the official end of the Rurik dynasty, which had ruled Russia for over 700 years. Now this is a good moment to talk about Dmitri, Ivan's son and Feodor's brother, who should have taken the throne if Feodor died without an heir. Unfortunately for him, at age of 9 he experienced, a Russian-style accident. He was playing with a knife and accidentally stabbed himself in the throat. So, who takes over after Feodor? That would be the previously mentioned Boris Godunov. But here is the thing, Boris wasn't exactly popular. The early 1600s witnessed a famine, and things got ugly, like people eating grass and the tree bark levels of ugly. Over 2 million Russians died from starvation, and the survivors weren't thrilled with Godunov's rule. Now, enter the first false Dmitri, a guy who came out of nowhere claiming to be Ivan's the Terrible's youngest son, Dmitri. Most likely he was a Russian monk who figured, why be a monk when you could be, I don't know, a Tsar? Dmitri riled support from Polish nobles and the Catholic Church and marched into Moscow in 1605. Boris Godunov conveniently dies of a heart attack or poison, depending on who you ask, and boom, Dmitri is now a Tsar. Not for very long, though, because just days after becoming a Tsar, Dmitri got assassinated. But the Russians, still angry at this random Polish installed puppet, dig up Dmitri's body, drag it through the streets of Moscow and burn it. Next up, we got Swedish-backed Vasily Szujski, another noble with big ambitions who becomes a Tsar. His reign is plagued by even more civil wars, and a second false Dmitri pops up taking territories and convincing people that He is the real Tsar. And guess who is watching all of this go down? Poland. Poland decides that they had enough of playing chess from the distance and choose to take Moscow for themselves. 6,000 Polish Hussars face off against 35,000 strong Russo-Swedish army. Polish forces absolutely obliterate the opposition and they march towards Moscow. Cannot be stopped. On August 3rd, 1610, the Polish army under King Sigismund III captures Moscow and the Russians agree to crown Polish Prince Vladislav as a Tsar. Yep, Moscow, the heart of Russia, occupied by the Polish. But that's not the end of the good news for Poles. Vasily Szujski, the Russian Tsar, is transported to Warsaw, Polish capital, where he crawls on his knees to beg the Polish king for mercy and forgiveness. Unfortunately, Poland didn't capitalize on the situation. King Sigismund III didn't send Prince Vladislav to Moscow, most likely out of the fear for his safety. Meanwhile, the Russians weren't exactly thrilled with this whole Poles in the Kremlin situation. Eventually, Russian resistance, led by Prince Dmitri Posharsky and merchant Kuzma Minin, kicks out the Poles out of Moscow in 1612. By 1613, the Romanov dynasty rise to power. So, what's the takeaway here? Probably that all good things, like occupation of Russia, must come to an end. Poland, which usually spends its time getting invaded, actually pulled off one of the most legendary invasions of all time. I mean, how many people can say they've occupied Moscow? The Russians haven't forgotten though. They still celebrate National Unity Day, which is basically remember when we kicked the Poles out day. If you enjoyed this trip through the history, don't forget to like, subscribe, maybe leave me a comment. This will really help my channel and give me more motivation to produce more episodes in the future. This is the Sons of Time. Thanks for watching.